Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tricia Leska, and I'm an Immigration Services Analyst with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services in Pittsburgh. And I want to welcome all of our candidates for U.S. citizenship today, as well as your family and friends who've come out to support you for this very special event. On our way over, I couldn't help but notice it's a beautiful day for a naturalization ceremony, and we're very honored to be at this beautiful venue. Before I begin, I have a couple of quick announcements. We ask that everyone silence their cell phones and any electronic devices just so there's no interruptions during this ceremony. We know you're going to want to have those handy to take photographs, and we will let you know when the best time to capture those are going to be. And for safety, we ask that all children be accompanied by an adult at all times. And a quick note to those who are becoming citizens today, you've all received a packet of information. And inside that packet, you have the words to the Star-Spangled Banner, the Oath of Allegiance you'll be taking today, and the Pledge of Allegiance. Those are all part of today's ceremony, so we've put that in the program for everyone as well. You also will get a certificate holder, an information guide for new citizens, a very important voter's guide to federal elections, a passport application, Citizens Almanac that has a lot of civics and historical information, and a pocket-sized Constitution and Declaration of Independence. And at this time, I'd like to ask everyone to please stand as we begin the formal portion of today's ceremony with the national anthem. The national anthem will be sung by Jessica Vega.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say doth that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you so much, Ms. Vega, for singing the national anthem. Everyone, you may be seated. And now I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Michael Horvath, Field Office Director of the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services in the Pittsburgh Field Office.
Thank you, Ms. Oleska, and thank you, Ms. Vega, for that wonderful rendition of the national anthem. On behalf of the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, I'd like to welcome all of the candidates for naturalization today, as well as their family and guests and all of our distinguished guests. I'd like to take a moment to thank the City of Pittsburgh and the Office of Mayor William Peduto for coordinating today's ceremony. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services held its first naturalization ceremony here in City Council chambers in 2015 as part of the Welcoming Pittsburgh initiative. Since that time, we have collaborated with the city and the mayor's office on special naturalization ceremonies and outreach activities to connect immigrants and new citizens to the communities that they now call home. At this point in time, I would like to introduce, I have the honor of introducing the mayor of the city of Pittsburgh, Mayor William Peduto.
Thank you, Michael. To the candidates today, congratulations. This is obviously a very important day for you and the people of Pittsburgh celebrate it with you. I am the proud grandson of Italian immigrants. My grandfather, like many Italians, came over to this country after World War I, looking for an opportunity to give his children a better life. Unfortunately, a few years later, Congress would pass an act which would limit the amount of immigrants to the numbers that the United States had in 1890. And it was 6 years later that my grandmother would be able to join them. We've made those mistakes in the past, and we won't make those mistakes again. We understand that this city was built on the backs and the arms of immigrants who came here and not only built this city, but built America. We understand that today a new generation is coming to use their minds to not only build an America, but to change the world. And it is happening right here in Pittsburgh. But we won't forget the lessons of the past. We'll make sure that we remember them so we don't make those same mistakes again. Above you in this beautiful room are all the people who've had the opportunity to be the mayor of this city. Starting up here with Ebenezer Denny, the first mayor of the city of Pittsburgh, who was a Revolutionary War hero and fought at the Battle of Yorktown along with George Washington. In fact, if you ever see the painting, Cornwallis Surrenders, it's Mayor Ebenezer Denny who holds the American flag, a new nation that was born, a nation with a promise that it would be the beacon for the world, for those that faced oppression, for those that faced war or hunger, that there would be somewhere on this earth where all could gather and live in freedom. That's the principles of the United States. Unfortunately, there are also mayors up there like Joe Barker, 1850. Mayor Barker was a street preacher, and he preached down by where the convention center is now, and he preached hate, and his hatred was towards the immigrants, the Irish, and the Germans, the Catholics. And he spoke in such harsh terms that at one of his speeches he threatened to kill the bishop. So the mayor arrested him and put him in jail. You know what his friend said? Hey, you know who'd make a good mayor? Joe. So they ran him on a write-in ticket in 1850. And the political party he ran on was the anti-Catholic party. They weren't too subtle. Joe won. So on the day that he was to be sworn in, they brought him out of jail. He took his oath of office, but the pardon never came in from the governor, so that he spent the first night as the mayor of Pittsburgh in prison. Joe would serve 1 year as the mayor. He would fire all the police officers and hire his friends to be the police, which basically started a civil war in Pittsburgh. While he was the mayor, he imprisoned the bishop. He basically said that he had had illegal sewers lines tapped into by Mercy Hospital. And while the bishop was in prison, the Catholic cathedral burned to the ground. And today, if you walk down Grant Street and you see the Union Trust building, on top of it, it looks like a church sits on top. At one point, that's where a church stood, the Catholic cathedral. Joe Barker would only serve 1 year. He'd try to run for office in the future, but would never be elected. Today, Joe's great-great-grandson still lives in Pittsburgh, and he's a professor of law at Duquesne University, a Catholic university. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? How things change. Today, you become Americans. Never forget that. Never forget what it feels like. Tell your children, tell your grandchildren, and remind them that as all Americans, we're here to pull others up, not to push them down.
Well, thank you, Mayor Peduto. We are honored to be here today and to have you with us, and it was wonderful to hear the history of the city and as it relates to immigrants. Thank you.
Thanks.
At this point in time, I would like to call Trish Oleska back to the podium to administer the motion for the oath and to do the roll call of countries. Ms. Oleska.
On behalf of the United States government, it is my pleasure to present these candidates for naturalization. Each of the candidates has been personally examined under oath by a designated officer. Each has demonstrated an understanding of the English language unless exempt, and knowledge and understanding of the fundamentals of history and principles and form of government of the United States. Each has been found to be a person of good moral character, attached to the principles of the Constitution of the United States, and well disposed to the good order and happiness of the United States. The investigations of the government have been completed in their cases, and each has been found to meet all requirements of the law to be naturalized. Therefore, on behalf of the United States government, I respectfully recommend that all candidates be admitted for citizenship of the United States of America. I'm going to call out each of the countries represented today. When you hear your country called, please stand and remain standing until all of the countries have been called out, and you will be administered the oath of allegiance as a group. Bhutan, Canada, India, Israel, Italy, Kosovo, Nigeria, Pakistan, Philippines, Thailand, United Kingdom. It is my privilege to present 17 applicants for naturalization from these 11 countries.
Thank you, Ms. Oleska. Friends and family members, if you would like to come to the front of the room to get in a better position to take a photograph, please feel free to do so at this time. Candidates for naturalization, will you please raise your right hand and repeat after me? I hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen, that I will support and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform work of national importance under civilian direction when required by the law, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. So help me God. Congratulations, you're all now citizens of the United States of America. You may be seated. The USCIS Pittsburgh Field Office is a medium-sized office for our agency. We see about 3,000 people a year come through for naturalization. Of the people we see, they not only deal with us, but they deal with the communities that they call home, and they interact with the local governments, local law enforcement. And we have a very special keynote speaker today, Assistant Chief Larry Soroto of the Pittsburgh Police, and he's going to be talking a little bit about the police and how they serve the community. Please join me in welcoming him to the podium.
Thank you and good afternoon. On behalf of the Pittsburgh Bureau of Police, I would like to start by saying welcome. Not only welcome in English, but welcome in what is now your native tongue. Swagat. Bohim Bahim. Ben Venuto. Bienvenue. Hushgad Denise. Kusham Deed. Wan Yi In. Wala Anu Man. Ime at Pretor. Now, I've worked on pronunciation and enunciation all morning, so I hope that I was able to say welcome in the 13 languages that represent the 19 of you. The journey that you have taken is incredible. I was under the interpretation that some of you, it only took a few years. And then upon speaking to some of you, I realized it took 31 years, 3 decades, almost a majority of my adult lifetime to get to this point in your life. So congratulations. It is truly humbling to have an opportunity to speak in front of you, speak with you, enjoy this moment of yours as you embark on a new chapter in all of your lives. The city of Pittsburgh welcomes all of you to what we believe is the most livable city in America. We welcome you, your families, to a city that celebrates diversity in every aspect to include ethnicity, religion, and so much more. A city established in 1816 by immigrants like my grandparents from Africa and Italy. There's over 200 years of history that make this great town I call home. But I guess now, as of a few minutes ago, you also call home. The process in which you have followed to become United States citizens is a benefit to our communities. You bring culture, you bring differences that only enhance us as a society, only improve us as people. In an uncertain world today, I will assure you that the City of Pittsburgh, and more importantly at this point, the Pittsburgh Bureau of Police, stands ready to protect and serve all of you and all of your families. You've seen the communities, our 90 communities within the city of Pittsburgh, and they have such charm, and they're so unique, and the similarity in all of them is each and every one of them were developed and enhanced by immigrants. Each and every one of them were an effort of many from different cultures, different backgrounds, beliefs, religions, to make up what we now proudly say is the city of Pittsburgh. The growth that our communities will depend on will rely on each and every one of you. You all bring a certain skill set, whether it be trade, technology, fashion design, food. The endless options go on and on. But it's a difference that is very appreciated, well respected, and needed. The Pittsburgh Bureau of Police is also an agency of diversity created in 1857, again, of immigrants like your parents, my grandparents, yourselves. We continue to welcome the diversity within our police force that is ever representative of the communities we serve, the communities that you all choose to live in. And with that, I tell you, please don't hesitate to call on us in your time of need, your time of uncertainty, your time of despair. The men and women of the Pittsburgh Bureau of Police stand ready to protect and serve each and every one of you. Far too often, law enforcement in other countries is not viewed with the same esteem that we have here in the United States. We ask that you trust our officers. We ask that you engage our officers. We ask that you become involved, equally as involved as any other citizen that has home, has interest in the city of Pittsburgh. We hold our officers to a high standard, the highest of standards, to ensure that they accurately and heartfeltly represent the interests of all of our citizens, which, as of today, is each and every one of you and your families. We'll ask them that they respect the cultural differences that each and every one of you bring, that may and most likely is a little different than ours, but that it's embraced and not to be feared, but to be held to the highest esteem, ensuring that we respect the dignity of each and every one of our citizens, their families, citizen or not, and that we welcome all of you with open arms. So with that, I close in saying the humble experience, opportunity to speak in front of you, to enjoy this moment with you, will never be forgotten. The struggle and challenge that it has taken many of you to get to this point, this juncture in your lives, does not go unappreciated. We thank you with all sincerity for making us a better city, and I hope that you find a friend in the Pittsburgh Bureau of Police. Welcome.
Thank you, Chief Sirotto. During your speech, I was thinking back to my early days as an officer with the Immigration Service, and something that you said, and it resonates with me to this day, is many of you might come from countries where law enforcement might not be respected, but I'm glad to hear what you had to say today and very encouraged by the words that you had for our new citizens and moving forward. One of the most unique and memorable parts of our ceremonies is hearing from our citizen candidates. At this time, I would like to invite Mohammed Birney to address the group. Please join me in welcoming him to the podium.
Thank you. All right. I want to start by thanking Director Horvath, for organizing the ceremony, and in general for your office's impeccable professionalism in my now 9-month-long journey since I filed a petition to become a citizen to this day. And I want to thank Mayor Peduto and his staff, many of whom are here, and many of whom I count my friends, and I'm touched. They're photographing and taping and all the rest of it, for his words, but also just for creating a city and working every day to make a city, to make this city as livable, as attractive, as friendly as it has been for me in the last 7 years that I've lived here and that I've called it home. And I want to thank you finally for, extraordinary words. So, and again, it's one of those things where I've lived in Pittsburgh for 7 years. I met Larry in passing one night in Mount Washington at Bigham's, and now today I see him here. It's a city of friends. You know, even if you're an immigrant, even if you're, like me today, a new citizen of this country. Ever since Mr. Leon called me and asked me if I would give a speech, a scary phrase, give a speech, as one of the citizen candidates, I've been thinking about my parents. I'm young. I see a lot of young faces among the citizen candidates, and in the faces that are older, I see the faces of my parents. And I came to this country 18 years ago in the summer of 1998. And when I say I came to this country, as far as bearing the brunt of being a new immigrant, of uprooting yourself from everything you know, from the culture you know, the people you know, the religion you know, the food you know, I didn't do that. My parents did it. They made that choice. And they were just a few years older than I am right now when they made that choice. And when I say that I've been thinking about them, what I've been thinking about is this extraordinary act of courage and commitment that they made. And I suppose they were more invested because, unlike me, they weren't single, they were married, they had kids, they had a future generation to look out for. But it staggers my mind because I don't know if I would have been able to make a similar act, to act that courageously, to act with that much commitment, and to literally, to use an Old West phrase, to strike out for uncharted territory. And my parents aren't here today. My parents live in California, and yesterday, as I was preparing the speech and I was talking to my mom about, certain specific dates and some of the backstories that I had not remembered or wasn't even privy to when I was 10 years old when we came to the United States. As I was talking to her, she told me that my younger sister had gone in the mailbox and had pulled out from the mailbox a letter from the USCIS Phoenix office announcing or notifying my parents of their interview dates. They're a few months behind me. And so the process is working for all of us. It's slow and steady, but it's happening. And my mother was very moved, interestingly enough, that it was my sister who pulled that letter out of the mailbox while she was having this conversation with her eldest son, because when my mother and my father arrived in that summer of 1998, she was carrying my sister. And my sister was born in October of that year, a few months after they arrived. And in a family of 6, she was the only citizen from birth. The rest of us, myself included, and my siblings and my parents, will be citizens by naturalization. And for 18 years, it's been 18 years. She's now an 18-year-old, just finished her first year of college, young woman. It's taken 18 years to get to the point where I can stand here few minutes into being a citizen and say these words to you guys. And I'm sure in all the faces I'm seeing in front of me, there's similar journeys and there's similar stories. And in the young faces especially, there are similar people, maybe here, maybe not, who have made the hard choices that allowed you guys to be here. And again, I keep coming back to this fact. And I asked my mom this last night, why did you do it? My parents are physicians. They weren't struggling back home. They weren't fleeing an oppressive regime. And all she said was, because we wanted our kids to have a better shot And for my mom, if you know my mom, if you've ever met my mom, that specifically means for my kids to go to a better school than I ever had a chance to go to. For my kids to study more, to learn more, to get more degrees, to go to Stanford and come home, like whatever it may be, it's to pursue higher education. And that to me, as I'm now wrapping up a phase of my life in Pittsburgh and planning for a move to Boston to finish my own schooling, that to me strikes at the very heart of their motivation. And in some senses, it gives me a degree of courage that I otherwise would not have had in this very modest move that I'm making. But for me, this city, and as a child of immigrants, perhaps you're all familiar with this experience, there's a lot of moving even when you arrive in the United States. There's a lot of jumping from city to city, from job to job. In my parents' case, my father being a physician, there's a very specific procedure by which a physician becomes a US citizen, one part of which entails, after doing your residency and your fellowship and becoming licensed to practice medicine in this country, one part of which entails moving to a federally designated, medically underserved area somewhere in the United States for at least 3 to 5 years. It's called a waiver program. That program, once it's discharged, allows that physician and all of his dependents to then apply for permanent residency and then later on down the road to apply for citizenship. My parents did that in a small, small town in the boot heel of Missouri, which is where I graduated from high school. And it seems easy and almost facile for me to stand here and say, the act of courage, the act of commitment they made was that act to get on a plane and leave India and to strike out for the world. But really, once they arrived in the United States, it was also all of the major and minor episodes year after year, every couple of years, to finish a residency and move somewhere for a fellowship, to finish that and move somewhere for a waiver program. And after that, at the age of nearly 50, to start looking at buying a house or to start establishing roots, things that most people in this country do 2 decades prior in the natural course of things. And now I'm an adult and I'm standing here and I have just become a US citizen, and in a few minutes I'm going to go downstairs and register to vote, which are words I can't believe I'm saying. And in a few months I'm going to plan to move to Boston to finish my schooling. And I keep reflecting on this act of courage, this act of commitment, and I think perhaps this typifies what it means to be an immigrant, that there is a great deal of heartache and sorrow that comes with the equation. There's a great deal of loneliness. There's a great deal of uncertainty. And my parents bore the brunt of that. I did not. My siblings did not. And my parents did that so that we would have a chance, nothing guaranteed, a chance at the other side of being an immigrant, which is a chance to make a community for yourself from scratch, which is a chance to dream with absolutely no fetters on, to conceive of any possible thing that you'd want to do and not be held back by any constraints of religion, of caste, of class, of gender. So I want to close by saying to my parents, thank you. As your oldest, I applaud what you did. I'm eternally grateful. And I hope I'll see you guys in a few weeks when I go home and we can celebrate properly. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burney. It was amazing and humbling to hear your story. And I'd like to say to the group, we already heard from Mayor Peduto, from Chief Sirotto. We all have a story to tell, whether it be our parents or our grandparents. There's an immigrant story from all of us. And when you said the oath of allegiance, you notice there's nothing in there that says you have to surrender your customs, your culture, your heritage when you become a United States citizen. Those are things that you will carry with you, that you should continue to celebrate, continue to embrace, and absolutely continue to share your story, because years from now, your children, your grandchildren will be sharing that story with other people. So continue to carry on those traditions. At this point in time, we're going to be doing the Pledge of Allegiance, and I know there's some young people in the audience I talked to earlier. Would you like to come forward to the front center of the room for the pledge? Any of the young people in the audience, if you'd like to come forward, please do so at this time to help lead us in the pledge. Anybody else? Just come right up here. All right. Good to gather around here. Would everybody please rise for the pledge? When we do so, we put our right hand over our heart, and I will let these young people lead us off.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
How about a round of applause for our helpers? Very nice. You can return to your seats. Thank you. You may be seated. At this point in time, we are going to be presenting the new citizens with their certificate of naturalization. When you hear your name called, please come forward to receive your certificate. And Chief Serrato will be presenting you with a flag as a memento of this occasion. This is a great photo opportunity, so if you're a friend or family member in the audience, if you'd like to get into position to take photographs, we're going to be going in the order that people are sitting, starting over here with Mr. Burney, going across the first row, and then into the second row. As you come up to get your certificate, if you could just please go back around in the back so that we have a nice line going.
First, we have Mohammed Saifullah Burney. Andrew Turton. Udi Maya Gurung. Urim Hassanaj. Khalid Rahim Ramani. Alessia Tandon. Yuchao Jin. Mark William Korchuk. Jennifer Lee Cully. Nola Rosalim McNeilis. Anam Arif. Halirat Dengler. Sukanya Ramyanan. Olasunkanmi Atinuke Ogunbayu. Congratulations to you. Kimberly Ashley Quachon Ha. Entiense Allen Awakasin. And Bar Haas. And that's everyone.
All right, how about one more round of applause for all of our new citizens? On behalf of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, again, thanks to all of our family, friends, and distinguished guests for joining us today. I'd like to have a special thanks for the City of Pittsburgh and the Mayor's Office for opening up this beautiful and meaningful venue for today's ceremony. I'd like to thank and acknowledge Mayor William Peduto for taking time out of his busy schedule to attend the ceremony and address everyone. Chief Soroto, and especially Alexis Vargas of the Mayor's Office, who helped arrange today's ceremony. There were a lot of logistical issues, and I do appreciate her help. How about a round of applause for all those folks who helped today? One housekeeping reminder for the new citizens: make sure you sign your certificate before you try to use it for a passport or anything else. There's instructions that are included in your packet. Just sign on the line in blue or black ink and you are good to go. Also, please feel free to share your stories, your photos on social media. USCIS is on social media. The City of Pittsburgh is on social media. We love to see pictures, hear your stories, so please post those. And again, if I could just echo some of the sentiments that I heard earlier in all of the speeches today, is you're U.S. citizens now. You all came from different backgrounds, but you've all taken the step made the choice to become citizens, and take advantage of the opportunities that lay ahead of you. Make sure that you are engaged in your local communities. Make sure you participate by either voting, maybe running for office, maybe serving on a police force. All of those things are what makes our community strong, and they make America strong. So please get out there and do your best. Make us proud as new citizens. Congratulations. That concludes today's ceremony.